I'll never slow up. No, I don't take shit. I got no love for the fakeness news. If you want to play tough, I want to hate this, although sure. I'll slow up.
No, I don't take shit. I got no love for the fakeness. If you wanna play tough, wanna hate this, I'll never slow up. No, I don't take shit. I got no love for the fakeness. If you wanna play tough, I'll show up and make it clear.
I'll never slow up. No, I don't take shit. I got no love for the fakeness. If you want to play tough, I want to hate this. I'll always make sure.
Hello, friends. A Russian observation drone captured a Ukrainian Baba Yaga heavy drone transporting a small ground drone APK-1 behind the invaders' lines. This system with four-wheel drive carries a heavy TM-62M anti-tank mine. Upon reaching the target, the vehicle simply drives into it, detonating its combat payload. This aerial delivery method allows Ukrainian forces to bypass difficult terrain, obstacles, and high-risk ground routes, also reducing transit time and improving the chances of destroying their target. This is yet another example of the new combined arms philosophy, where defenders make different types of unmanned systems work together to give Ivan new headaches. Speaking of giving them unpleasant surprises, the defenders of the 15th Artillery Reconnaissance Brigade Cornelis, or Black Forest in Spanish, carried out a surprise inspection visit to the Kalino military air base near Kur on July 21. In the first phase, they used a high-flying reconnaissance drone, which detected the presence of two MiG-29S parked together near the runway, one of which was depautonized by a direct hit. But not satisfied with that, a second raider decided to apply direct sanctions to a Panzer S-2 battery that was exposed on a ramp to protect the base. Well, obviously he wasn't very good at his job, so he received the standard treatment that invaders deserve. On the 22nd, Ukraine's Northern Command published additional details about the raid, indicating that medium-range heavy attack drones participated, and that in addition to the MiG-29 and the Panzer, the raiders destroyed the main command building, the satellite communication center, several launch platforms for Shahed attack drones, several air defense positions, as well as the base's fuel and lubricant storage tanks. I think we can say it was a good day's work. Going back to the ground drones, the defenders have received a batch of 105 Lancer unmanned ground vehicles manufactured by the American company Forterra. These vehicles are based on the Polaris Ranger 1,500 chassis and have already completed more than 1,100 missions since their discreet arrival in Ukraine in October of last year. The Lancers are especially suitable for carrying out resupply missions to forward positions and rescuing the wounded in difficult terrain due to their remarkable off-road capabilities, agility, and high speed. A Ukrainian commander who works with them indicated that the Lancer has become the #1 option for critical logistical missions, and stated that he has urgently requested more units to be sent. The company Forterra manufactured and delivered the 105 units in less than 6 months after receiving the order from the Ukrainian forces, and each vehicle can carry up to 680 kilograms of cargo on board, in addition to towing a trailer loaded with an additional 1,600 kilograms. The operator controls the vehicle through a vector control module connected to a Starlink antenna. Turning to the strategic strike front. During the night of July 16th to 17th, the SBU carried out a precision long-range drone attack against the Russian Ingles 2 air base in Saratov Oblast, approximately 800 kilometers from the Ukrainian border, where they managed to destroy a strategic bomber belonging to the invaders. The Russian channel Voyevoda broadcast, linked to the Z military aviation, reluctantly confirmed the loss of one of its Tupolev Tu-95 MS strategic bombers as a result of a Ukrainian drone attack on the base, stating, "I don't have good news regarding the Tu-95. We can say that the most important thing is that no lives were lost." And of course, that's the most important thing, but we no longer manufacture this type of aircraft. We haven't done so in a long time. We only produce the Tu-160, and very few of them, actually. President Zelensky confirmed that the operation destroyed a Russian strategic bomber, a Tupolev Tu-95MS, whose tail section was completely torn off. The aircraft was part of the Russian fleet that regularly launches cruise missile attacks against Ukrainian cities and infrastructure. The Ingalls II base is one of the main long-range strategic aviation centers of Mordor, and it houses Tu-95MS Bear bombers capable of carrying up to 16 Kh-101 or Kh-555 cruise missiles, as well as Tu-160 Blackjack bombers. These platforms allow Russia to carry out long-distance attacks deep into Ukrainian territory without exposing their aircraft to the defenders' air defenses. It's been days since we last shared a summary of the exploits of the 414th Unmanned Systems Brigade, Magyar's Birds, who have released a new installment of their video series Jobla of the Week, which offers a vivid summary of the harsh treatment that the unit's mosquito operators give to invaders who are unlucky enough to cross paths with their mosquitoes. The word Jobla caught my attention, and I started looking into what it means, but unfortunately I can't share my findings about its meaning with you, since I would risk being sanctioned by the platform. The recording was published on July 17, along with the energetic song "I Like to Move It" by Los Colorados playing in the background, and in it, we can see the summer recreational activities that the operators offer to all the illegal tourists. At the moment of their close encounter with the mosquito, they all looked like they'd rather be on vacation in a Siberian gulag. Unfortunately, I heard about it. This is the video. This new testimony of the effectiveness of the 414th Unmanned Systems Brigade comes in the midst of the general offensive of the Unmanned Systems Forces to decimate the Russian fleet operating both in the Sea of Azov and the Black Sea, where that same brigade remains a key pillar of operations. This has not affected at all their efforts to support their infantry colleagues, who face the dwindling attacks of the invading horde every day. These weekly videos are the peak of combat transparency and are intended first and foremost to show the real lifespan of the invaders when they arrive at the front, so that the Russophiles can't say they're being misinformed. And they also serve to demotivate potential recruits of the horde who respond to the call of the Elder of the Kremlin from the Middle East, Africa, and Latin America. This is interesting. During his appearance on July 21 before the United States Senate Appropriations Committee, the commander of that country's Joint Chiefs of Staff, General John Kane, confirmed that a Ukrainian Air Force F-16 Fighting Falcon achieved its first air-to-air victory against a Russian fighter jet. This high-level confirmation validated the Ukrainian report from July 8, 2026 about the downing of a Russian Sukhoi Su-35 multi-role fighter on the Eastern Front. During the hearing, General Kane stated, "It is worth noting that they recently achieved their first air-to-air kill. When a Ukrainian F-16 shot down a Russian fighter, therefore, I believe their ability to expand their layered air defense has advanced greatly in recent years, thanks to the help and assistance of many countries. This achievement is more than just a tactical success and illustrates, first of all, the maturity of the Ukraine's integrated air defense network, which combines the work of advanced surface-to-air missile battery teams like the Patriot, electronic warfare units, and the support of intelligence, surveillance, and reconnaissance provided by Ukraine's defense forces. This provides a situational awareness of the battlefield superior to the Russian one, which allows them to develop tactics to surprise Russian pilots. The Ukrainian F-16s in service are Block 15 MLU fighter bombers, donated mainly by Denmark and the Netherlands, starting in 2024. And they have been used mainly to intercept Russian cruise missiles and drones, as well as to carry out precision bomb attacks on Russian positions at the front. Equipped with AIM-120 AMRAAM long-range missiles, They now demonstrate that they are capable of attacking Russian air superiority fighters. Their Su-35S Flanker E, which is one of the most capable multi-role fighters of the invaders, since it is equipped with the powerful Irbis E, passive electronically scanned array radar, advanced electronic warfare systems, and powerful air-to-air missiles, including the R-77-1 and the very long-range R-37M. I'm going to make a video exclusively about this mission in the coming days, so stay tuned. And for the Russophiles who are commenting everywhere that this is fake, come on, it's not like this is the first Su-35 that has been shot down during this war, guys. Hello friends, the special military operation is going so well that now the Su-35S Flanker E fighter bombers of the Horde are working overtime to try to shoot down the Ukrainian strategic attack mosquitoes that are flying more than 1,500 kilometers from the front. Yep, things are going great for Putler's Horde. Continuing on the air front, in this footage published on July 25, we see how a team of intrepid aviators from Ukraine's 11th Independent Kherson Aviation Brigade successfully intercepts several Russian attack drones. Shade, using a German ANL Mk 556 rifle 5.56 millimeters from the rear cockpit of a Soviet-era Yak-52 training plane over the waters near Odessa in the Black Sea. Honestly, at first I thought the rifle wouldn't have enough stopping power to bring down the vultures of the Horde, but obviously the Ukrainian aviators only need a couple of short bursts to achieve the goal, which is actually quite surprising. These pairs flying in ancient planes have become a low-cost force that is essential for the layered air defenses of Odessa to eliminate part of the massive swarms of drones that the invaders are launching daily against Ukraine's main port out at sea. The crews of the brigade have perfected this tactic, and in fact one team managed to destroy a dozen Shahed, Orlan, and Sala drones in a single epic sortie, reaching a record of 120 enemy drones shot down in a single year, which demonstrates a surprising effectiveness against slow loitering munitions that fly at speeds the Yak-52 can match or surpass. The Yak-52s provide a vital complement to high-tech defenses, as they allow missiles to be reserved for higher priority targets and cover poorly defended areas of the coast and nearby maritime zones. In any case, this old master is putting up a fight that Ivan never would have expected. The campaign of medium-range attacks continues in the invaders' rear areas, as confirmed by this Russian logistics train, which was hit by a mosquito. It was hit while passing through the Zaporizhia region, damaging a tanker car that began to spill burning fuel onto the railway line, which will surely be out of service for some time, at least until it's confirmed the rails weren't warped by heat. On the naval front, attacks against the Z fleet have continued, but with less intensity, since most of the ships that had not yet been attacked have withdrawn to Turkish waters to avoid a visit from Ukrainian medium-range drones. But that doesn't mean the defenders aren't managing to capture some prey, like the bulk carrier New Victory, which was hit by an FP-1 drone in the Black Sea. After the free remodeling of the bridge, courtesy of the Ukrainians, I think we can all agree that the ship is going to need a long visit to a shipyard before it can go back to transporting goods from Mordor. Too bad that to repair this damage, they're going to need more than just paint. This group of invaders came up with an ultra-original idea: to launch an assault by crossing right through the middle of a completely flat field, which is not good for their health at all. The mosquitoes saw them coming from afar and went out to meet them, to show them they weren't welcome. They started by destroying the first quad of the convoy, and then destroyed the last vehicle in the column. A classic maneuver to immobilize an attacking force, giving time for the rest of the swarm to take care of the illegal tourists who scattered across the terrain. After their transports were neutralized, in a significant defensive success amid the intense ongoing fighting on the Pokrovsk axis, on July 22nd, units of the 1st Azov Corps of the Ukrainian National Guard, operating jointly with elements from other units, successfully repelled a massive coordinated Russian mechanized assault on multiple axes in the sector around the village of Shaykov. According to the 1st Azov Corps, the Russian forces consisted of elements from the 8th and 41st Combined Arms Armies of the Community Guard and the 90th Tank Division, who launched an offensive with dozens of armored vehicles and light vehicles along two main axes. For approximately 4 hours, the Russian columns tried to break through the Ukrainian positions and enter the settlements near Shakov in the Dobropilya area. At the same time, the Russian forces used their Gerbera attack drones, Lancet loitering munitions, and Tornado S multiple rocket launchers to try to neutralize the aerial observation assets and Ukrainian artillery positions covering the sector. The defenders responded with a layered defense, which included the prior placement of minefields and explosive charges on the most likely approach routes, along with airstrikes that damaged bridges and key road crossings. The Air Force was also responsible for destroying the Russian engineer groups that were trying to build pontoon bridges. At that moment, artillery, multiple rocket launch systems, and Ukrainian drones joined in and attacked the invading columns while they were stopped. Reports after the battle confirmed the destruction of 7 tanks, 6 armored combat vehicles, a BM-21 Grad multiple rocket launch system, a Tornado S system, 3 units of specialized equipment, and 47 light vehicles. Casualties among Russian forces are reported at 123 dead, including engineers and other Russian troops who earned the bonus for demilitarization. The mechanized assault was completely stopped, with the horde making no advances in the sector. The participating Ukrainian units included the 1st Azov Corps, the Alpha Special Operations Center of the SDU, the Unmanned Systems Forces, the Air Force, and elements of the State Border Guard Service, all operating under coordinated command. Between July 26 and 27, Russian forces continued to press toward Pokrovsk and Dobropilya, but have not made any advances. At the same time, the Russians have been launching dozens of assaults with smaller units that have been repelled, but these appear to be part of a reconnaissance operation and clearing of the route they hope to use in future offensives toward Dobropilya. Ivan appears to be returning to mass mechanized attacks, but instead of breaking through, he received a free dose of Ukrainian stick therapy. Do you remember that on July 23, a Su-57 Felon stealth fighter crashed near Moscow? Well, I have some interesting information. The incident happened 65 kilometers from the Kremlin near the Kubinka Air Base. The pilot ejected safely, and the Russian Ministry of Defense confirmed the aircraft was lost during takeoff due to a technical failure. So far, it's great that the horde lost one of its Su-57s, of which Ivan only has a few dozen in service. But here's where it gets interesting, because within hours, the 1,000 Z bloggers began reporting that the Felon had been attacked by an air defense unit, Bars Moscow, which is a unit of reservists hastily organized by Ivan to protect the capital from long-range Ukrainian drone attacks. These reservists had reportedly been on alert all that morning due to multiple drone incursions, which may have led them to mistake the plane taking off for a Ukrainian intruder, firing a man-portable missile at the aircraft at its most vulnerable moment. But this doesn't end here, because the International Intelligence Collective, Inform Napalm, went further, claiming that the crash was the result of a sophisticated Ukrainian human and cyber intelligence operation, through which, supposedly, they caused a defense team, the Bars Moscow Air Defense, to mistakenly identify the Su-57 taking off as a hostile target, attacking it with a man-portable missile. A Felon taking off in Kubinka would have flown at low altitude, potentially within range of the reservists' weapons. It would be the first confirmed incident of a fighter jet destroyed due to a cyber attack. If you're interested, comment below to let us know if we should create a more detailed report on this incident. Hello, friends. This is something I hadn't seen before during this war. A heavy Ukrainian Baba Yaga drone survives a direct hit from an interceptor drone of the invaders, which clearly explodes when it crashes into the defender's craft. Although heavy drones of this type have reinforced structures, distributed motor systems, and significant structural redundancy, it also helped that the explosion did not cause significant damage, so that Bird will be able to fight another day. This is not good news, since in the Black Sea, the Turkish bulk carrier Golden Leo, which was severely damaged by a Russian cruise missile attack on July 19, while transporting a cargo of Ukrainian corn, it finally sank in the Black Sea, off the coast of Odessa, on Sunday, July 26, according to Ukrainian maritime authorities. The ship, flying the flag of Guinea-Bissau, became stranded on the seabed at an approximate depth of 22 to 24 meters, after suffering progressive flooding due to severe damage to the hull and the superstructure of the vessel, which caused it to lose control and eventually sink. The Golden Leo was leaving the port of Chornomorsk through the Ukrainian maritime corridor when it was hit by 3 Russian Kh-59 cruise missiles. The attack caused a fire that damaged the bridge area and claimed the lives of 9 crew members and a Ukrainian harbor pilot. Another 8 sailors were rescued and successfully evacuated. The ship, loaded with corn destined for international markets, drifted for a week in relatively calm waters before capsizing and sinking bow first within sight of the Ukrainian coast. Russia is blocking access to the port of Odessa, attacking port facilities and any ship that approaches that destination. As we watch a new weekly video from the 414th Makyar Birds Brigade attending to a new generation of illegal visitors, I wanted to tell you that preparations for the new wave of mobilization are already underway in Mordor. He just granted the Ministry of Defense and the Russian National Guard access to civil registry data. They will be able to obtain information from the registry, supposedly to promptly provide social guarantees and corresponding compensations to military personnel, veterans, and their families. But in addition, the data will be used to speed up the updating of the military service registry. The call for mobilization is planned for the fall, given the notable lack of enthusiasm and patriotic fervor among the Z population, which has made it impossible to recruit the necessary contingent of soldiers through regular conscription. In fact, during the first quarter of 2026, the influx of new recruits in Moscow and the regions decreased by an average of 33% compared to the same period in 2025. This has already caused a deficit of approximately 5% in the annual recruitment plan for mandatory military service, whereas in previous years, those targets were easily met with volunteers. To keep up the offensive pace at the front, the Russian command reduced the number of divisions formed in the strategic reserve, sending those men to the front to replenish losses in existing units instead. In June of this year, there were reports of specialized training sessions for Russian officials from various regions on the different administrative aspects of mass mobilization. After seeing how Ukrainians treat invaders, I suggest Ivan at least provide new recruits with individual protection systems to see if they last more than their current average lifespan of 20 minutes. On the political front, in an important sign from the newly appointed Prime Minister of the United Kingdom, Andy Burnham, he received President Zelensky on July 27 for their first in-person meeting at the Portsmouth Naval Base, with the imposing silhouette of the British aircraft carrier HMS Queen Elizabeth as the backdrop, and which marked Burnham's first bilateral meeting with a foreign leader just 1 week after taking office on July 20, 2026, succeeding Kate Starmer. Zelensky was also visiting the more than 200 Ukrainian sailors who had just completed their participation in the multinational exercise, Sea Breeze, which is a naval exercise where more than 15 nations participated, practicing mine warfare and simulating the execution of operations in the Black Sea. Prime Minister Burnham stated that his government is 100% committed to the Ukrainian cause and will fully honor all commitments made to their cause. A central aspect of today's announcements was the transfer of intellectual property rights of the system, Stonecloak, a compact electronic warfare device, tablet size that has already been tested in combat. It also interferes with Russian air defense radar signals, making it much harder to detect and intercept drones using it. By sharing this technology, Great Britain will not only allow Ukraine to manufacture the systems on a large scale, but will also give it access to its software to enable the integration of feedback obtained from the battlefield, thus allowing the system to continuously evolve. The dismantling of the Horde's air defense systems in Crimea continues, as during a nighttime operation carried out between July 25 and 26, operators from the main intelligence directorate of Ukraine tracked, attacked, and destroyed two critical components of a Russian long-range S-400 Triumph surface-to-air missile system deployed in Crimea. The GUR operators located the battery and attacked a transporter erector launcher vehicle and the 96L6 all-altitude target acquisition radar. The footage shows both systems engulfed in secondary explosions and fires after the attacks, confirming the destruction of these high-value assets. The 96L6 radar is a vital sensor within the S-400 architecture. Operating in the S-band, it is designed to detect and track aerial targets such as aircraft, cruise missiles, and ballistic threats. At distances of up to approximately 300 kilometers and at altitudes ranging from low altitude to the stratosphere, it can simultaneously handle dozens of tracks. Its elimination significantly degrades the battery's ability to direct fire control radars and engage incoming threats, effectively blinding a part of Russia's layered air defense network on the peninsula. Analysis of NASA's firm satellite records indicates the presence of fires during the night of the attack, with areas generally associated with S-400 deployments along the northern approach to the Kerch Strait, which matches the location described in Ukrainian reports. If the defenders are attacking the air defenses of the strait, we will surely see activity in the area soon. In any case, the Mosquitoes from the 421st Sapsan Unmanned Systems Battalion, they not only go after the Horde's high-value anti-air assets, but also dedicate part of their attention to deputinizing the improvised means that the orcs at the front invent, grafting machine guns and anti-aircraft cannons of all kinds onto all sorts of vehicles, like in this case where they mounted a heavy machine gun in the bed of a truck, which is quickly sent to the metal recycling plant. A second Mosquito comes to confirm that the job has been completed, finding the contraption fully in party mode. Good job, guys. Hello, friends. On July 27, a video of the Grand Naval Parade was released for Mordor Navy Day, held on the Pregolia River, in the heart of the Russian enclave of Kaliningrad, where this year, the most powerful warships still available to the Russian Navy in the Baltic Sea took part. Navy Day is celebrated annually on the last Sunday of July to commemorate the founding of the Russian fleet by Peter the Great in 1696. Usually, the naval parade in St. Petersburg is a major event where dozens of warships parade in front of the old man in the Kremlin, Vladimir Putin. However, it was canceled for the second year in a row due to fears of an unannounced visit by Ukrainian flamingos during the event. But at least a barge passed by with a nice band, playing music to lift the spirits of all the orcs who lost their packages in the wild berries fire. Happy Raft Day, Ivan! On the Donetsk front, an invader who had the brilliant idea to go into the middle of a field to recover one of his drones shows us a remarkable example of dual-use military equipment by using his Mavic Matrix as an improvised mosquito interceptor. You have to admit it was a great throw. Too bad for him that the 2-kilo fragmentation anti-personnel mine the mosquito was carrying still covered him with an unhealthy dose of shrapnel. However, Ivan is indeed working on safer ways to neutralize the mosquitoes for his orcs, as we can see in this footage, where we see the successful test of a manual last resort system to shoot down drones that the Russians are testing in some areas of the front. Both sides have worked on this concept for a couple of years, but we still haven't seen large-scale frontline deployment. Maybe it's because for the Russians, orcs are much cheaper than anti-drone nets. They could try to install some kind of system like that on the back of their tanks. This video will always be a classic. The campaign to change the name of the Russian Amazon from wildberries to fireberries is still ongoing. And during the early morning of July 29th, the Ukrainian Defense Forces carried out a coordinated operation with long-range drones that struck 2 high-value targets inside Russian territory. We're talking about the Ryazan oil refinery, owned by the state oil company Rosneft, and also an important wildberries logistics and parcel sorting center. Both facilities are located in the Ryazan region, 360 kilometers from the border with Ukraine. The Ukrainian company Firepoint proudly confirmed that its FP-1 long-range attack drones were used in the attack. That's why they released this video showing their mosquitoes approaching the targets, followed by large fires and dense columns of black smoke, which confirm the impacts on both facilities. The Ryazan oil refinery is among the largest refineries in the country, with an annual processing capacity of more than 17 million tons of crude oil. It produces gasoline, diesel, aviation fuel, and other petroleum products, which are essential for both civilian markets and the Russian military-industrial complex. At the same time, the defenders attacked the Wildberries Logistics Center, located in the Ryazansky Industrial Park near the town of Tiushevo. The large sorting and distribution complex, which handles hundreds of thousands of shipments daily, was evacuated and had to suspend its operations. Later, it declared that the fire had been brought under control and that a substantial part of the inventory had been saved. Well, thank you for the information, which I'm sure will be of great interest for the upcoming missions being planned for the swarm of attack mosquitoes, which will surely include another visit to Ryazan. It's coming, it's coming. Since the attacks on the Wildberries facilities have been so devastating, the Russian logistics company Osan has taken active measures to protect its own warehouses. So it had its employees paint the following message on the roof of its largest logistics center for the Ukrainian mosquitoes. This is not wildberries, keep flying. I don't know if the measure will be effective, but hey, at least it's pretty creative. Although some Russians say that Osan is going too far and is taking this strategy to the extreme, since the message on the roof says Crimea is Ukraine. We all know it's AI, but we also all know that Osan is at least considering it. I don't know how I missed this story. It's a clear example of how low-cost drones continue to transform modern aerial combat. On the morning of July 15th, operators from Ukraine's 427th Rayrock Unmanned Systems Brigade managed to hit and destroy a Russian attack helicopter, Mi-28N Night Hunter, while it was flying well within the territory of. According to Robert Magyar Brovdi, commander of the Unmanned Systems Forces, the action took place at approximately 10 a.m. near the village of Byasovoy in Belgorod Oblast, Russia, a short distance from the border with Ukraine. The drone was identified as a Ukrainian-made Skyfall Strike 10, which approached from the helicopter's rear blind spot, following it for about 20 seconds before hitting it directly on the tail, after which the video transmission was interrupted. However, Ukrainian sources reported that the attack helicopter crashed nose first into the ground. The Mi-28N Night Hunter is a heavily armored twin-engine attack helicopter designed for anti-tank and close support missions, valued between $16 and $19 million. In contrast, the drone that shot it down cost less than $400. The difficulty of the attack is undeniable, since intercepting a helicopter in flight with a drone requires not only exceptional piloting skills, but also a good dose of luck to overcome the downward airflow from the rotor and the rapid changes in altitude and direction that the helicopter can execute. This incident is further proof that helicopters, which previously operated with relative impunity near the front, now face low-cost threats that can reach them even in rear areas they once considered safe. Speaking of helicopters, in a milestone for Europe's military aviation capabilities, Ukraine's first group of Army aviation helicopter pilots has completed their specialized training as flight instructors in the United Kingdom under Operation Interstorm. The course, taught at No. 1 Flying Training School at RAF Shawbury, trains experienced Ukrainian pilots to be able to train the next generation of helicopter aviators according to NATO standards. The training included simulator sessions and flight instruction on the Airbus helicopters Juno HT-1, which is the military variant of the Airbus H-135. The graduates are now prepared to return to their country and independently train future pilots, thus multiplying the training capacity of the defenders and reducing long-term dependence on external programs. The Ukrainian pilots bring frontline experience, including extensive knowledge of drone combat, which creates a two-way exchange that also benefits the instructors of the Royal Air Force. This way they can adapt to the realities of the modern battlefield. In early June 2026, the United Kingdom's Ministry of Defense announced that this helicopter instructor training program will be integrated into Operation Interflex, as that program transitions from large-scale basic infantry training to the long-term development of specialized capabilities. Since 2022, Interflex has trained more than 63,000 Ukrainian soldiers, including 11,000 instructors, with the support of 13 allied nations. The new phase prioritizes the development of advanced skills in aviation, medicine, engineering, and logistics to help Ukraine develop sustainable national systems. The program has become urgent due to Ukraine's upcoming incorporation of Western helicopters, including the Sea King helicopters from the British Royal Navy and the German Navy, and from the ongoing discussions about the possible transfer of other attack and support platforms. By training to NATO standards, this initiative accelerates the transition of Ukrainian air crews to more advanced Western helicopters, while also strengthening interoperability with allies. Among the aircraft that could be considered for transfer are the 60 Black Hawks and the H-1 family of helicopters from Bell Textron, a company that has even created a subsidiary to operate within Ukraine. Hello, friends. The German government announced that it will fund the production of 50,000 Strike FPV drones for Ukraine. These are manufactured by the Ukrainian company Skyfall, while the German firm Auterion will equip them with the software and targeting modules. The system is also equipped with an infrared machine vision camera and a 2.5 kilogram combat payload. In addition, obviously, the device is quite agile, and surprisingly, it can hide underwater to lie in wait for any invader in the rivers and lakes of Ukraine. The Strike 10 became the first Ukrainian drone to shoot down a Russian Mi-28 helicopter since the beginning of the invasion, and the Strike 10F variant guided by fiber optics won the Drone Dominance Program of the United States Armed Forces, achieving a score of 99.3 out of 100 points in evaluation. Now that's a warrior mosquito. On land, a Ukrainian ground drone, Termit, is carrying out a mission to resupply forward positions at the front, but the operator realizes that a Russian drone is coming at him, so he performs an evasive maneuver. Thanks to this, he was able to continue on his way and reach his destination to supply the defenders of the 66th Mechanized Brigade stronghold. The Ukrainian operator spotted the Russian drone using the vehicle's rear surveillance camera and his quick reflexes. The Termit ground drones, manufactured by the Ukrainian company Tinkor, function as a low-profile logistics platform, transporting up to 300 kilograms per trip across difficult terrain with an operational range of 40 kilometers. Recently, an artificial intelligence module has been installed that allows the unit to navigate autonomously, something like cruise control that frees up the operator in safe areas and also allows the unit to return if the control signal is lost. Turning to medium-range strikes, the operators of the Active Operations Department of the Defense Intelligence Directorate of Ukraine, also known as HUR, successfully attacked a series of Russian military trucks, transporting ammunition, fuel, and personnel along the supply route operated by the Horde in Zaporizhzhia Oblast. The attacks are part of the intense campaign that the defenders have launched to cut the logistical arteries that sustain the invading forces on the southern front. In the footage, we see how the HUR's mosquitoes use artificial intelligence control systems to identify and attack convoys and individual vehicles moving along rural roads and concentration areas in the occupied territory. The secondary detonations confirm the destruction of critical payloads essential for sustaining the Russian front line. According to the latest official update from July 26, the Department of Active Measures confirmed that these operations are ongoing, and their operators continue to eliminate Russian military equipment, trucks, tankers, drones, transport vehicles, and personnel on the southern front, destroying dozens of logistical assets just during the previous week. By systematically targeting supply convoys in the rear, Ukrainian intelligence operators force Russian commanders to disperse their resources, increase protective measures, and accept higher rates of attrition in their scarce fuel and ammunition reserves. This footage shows a bleak scene for the invaders. Along the R-280 Novorossiya highway, which runs from Rostov-on-Don through Mariupol, Berdyansk, and Melitopol toward the peninsula, there is a constant succession of overturned and burned Russian trucks, all marked by traffic cones. Ukrainian forces have systematically attacked all cargo vehicles using this route and the adjacent roads with medium-range attack drones as part of what analysts and Ukrainian commanders call the interdiction campaign, or logistical blockade, whichever you prefer. Ukrainian military reports already document hundreds of trucks, tankers, and transport vehicles destroyed, which has earned the corridor the grim nickname of the Highway of Death. In early June, the commander of the Unmanned Systems Forces, Robert Magyar Brovdy, reported that military cargo traffic on the route had dropped by about 71% over a 2-week period, which led Russian commanders to temporarily ban military cargo transport on key sections and to divert convoys to secondary roads. The Chongar bridges in Enichesk and Armyansk have been constantly attacked, which has forced reliance on pontoon bridges, which in turn have also become frequent targets of Ukrainian raids. On July 20, the Russian governor of Zaporizhzhia informed President Vladimir Putin that Russian forces had established full control of the R-280 using new methods and equipment. Although, obviously, he didn't send the memo to the Ukrainians, who so far don't seem to have gotten the message. The invaders are trying to set up a mobile defense of the logistical routes in their rear, using mobile groups based on pickup trucks, with a heavy machine gun mounted in the bed. What do you want me to say? The Ukrainian mosquitoes don't seem to be impressed with the system, as this trio of invaders found out the hard way, with at least 2 of them managing to save their skins. But come on, we have to admit that in the end, the vehicle did manage to intercept the mosquito. As you know, a few days ago, President Zelensky appointed General Mikhailo Drapati as the commander-in-chief of the armed forces of Ukraine, whom many people still know very little about as an officer. That's why I wanted to share this record from August 8, 2014, when Drapati was the commander of the 2nd Battalion of the 72nd Mechanized Brigade, and he was the leader during the breakout of the Azabarin encirclement in the Luhansk region, where, after several days of fighting, he managed to get 260 soldiers and more than 30 armored vehicles out of the encirclement. Our warriors remember that while they were breaking through the encirclement, they had to endure constant artillery fire along the 60 kilometers of the route, and we were ambushed several times. Among them, everyone says that Mikhailo Drapati was the hero, as they say he managed to lead the convoy to the safe zone with almost no losses. He knew the risk was enormous. The main objective was to save our people, and we did it. We were all scared. All along the way, we were under constant attack from both multiple rocket systems and artillery. We were ambushed, but we all managed to get out until the end. That wasn't Drapati's only action, for example, when he led a column of infantry transports into the center of Mariupol to rescue his comrades who were besieged in a government building in the city center, which the Russians, disguised as separatists, were trying to take by force. In short, a real soldier, respected by his troops, and who has always shown genuine concern for the lives of his soldiers. Now we have to see if his strategic leadership skills will match his remarkable courage on the battlefield. Let's hope so. Finally, the residents of Kiev woke up after Kiev was hit by more ballistic missile attacks from the invading horde, which, as always, caused serious damage to civilian buildings. Even so, all the neighbors come to help clear the rubble. Hopefully this war will end sooner rather than later. If you want to see additional content about the war in Ukraine, I invite you to visit our 2 new channels where we present information about the war in a different format. Don't forget to check them out. Remember to visit our Patreon, where for just $1, you'll have access to a large number of uncensored videos and documentaries. Don't forget to like and subscribe to the channel.